All right, welcome in. This is Under the Radar for Tuesday, March 31st, and we're going to find a couple of under the radar Major League Baseball angles for you to target on tonight's card. But first, it's $5 Tuesday at the Wager Talk, which means I've got a $5 play up as well as every other handicapper. So take advantage of the promo day. $5 Tuesday, all best bets are going to be up on the site for just $5. All right, to start today, we're going to talk about two games, but we're going to start by kind of bringing up what we talked about yesterday. Very unfortunate for us with Cody Ponce. He 1-2-3 first inning, worked around a hit in the second, and then in the third inning on a play where he was moving to his left and going to make the play at first base, basically blows out his knee. As far as I can tell, I don't know what the timetable is for him, but it does not look good. That did not, he got carted off the field. And my guess is if it doesn't cost him the whole season, it's going to cost him a good portion of this year. So that is, really tough news. Of course, we talked about for 10 minutes about him potentially being a breakout candidate for the Blue Jays this year. First time back in the States in 4 years. He spent 3 years in Japan and then last year in the KBO. And then he earns a spot in the Blue Jays starting rotation, and 3 innings in and it's done. So that is some brutal luck for Cody Ponce, for us if you had the Blue Jays in any capacity yesterday. But we move on, and I want to continue. I want to talk about that game again because for a couple of reasons. One, if you've watched Total Bases so far this year, you'll know that, yes, yesterday I did think it was a good spot for the Blue Jays and to target Cody Ponce in props, which we'll never really know because he got hurt and had to leave the game. But I've been very high on the Rockies relative to the market so far this year. If you go back to our very first Total Bases show, I said Rockies plus 1.5 long term is going to be a very, very profitable bet this year. It's already 4-0 against the spread. They lost by 1 in every game in the Marlins series, and then last night they get the outright win. So I think that's the way I would look again here would be to go Rockies plus 1.5. You can still get it at plus money, plus 105. But my concern for the Blue Jays is short term, but like over the next couple weeks. So, Ponce holding down that spot in the starting rotation was almost like the last thing they had there. Reason I say that, Trey Savage, he's on the IL. Shane Bieber, he's on the IL. Jose Barrios, he's on the IL, which sort of opened up this spot for Ponce to make the big league team and be in the rotation. That's obviously no longer going to be the case with the injury. He's going to be out for the foreseeable future. Of course, you have Bowden Francis, who's, I think, done for the year. I believe he had a surgery that's going to keep him out for the year. So if you're the Blue Jays, suddenly what looked like it was going to be a deep staff is very thin. You've basically got 4 starters, Gausman, Scherzer, Gausman, Scherzer, and my mind is escaping me on. Lauer, Eric Lauer is going to be one of the other ones. Dylan Cease. So those are your 4 starters at this point. But you're either going to have to dip into the bullpen, which I don't know. Is it Louis Varland? Varland's got some experience as a starter. He's who came in last night when Cease was out, although he's been much better as a reliever. So if the Blue Jays have to move him into the rotation, I think that's a negative hit to them because he's been so good as a relief pitcher for them. And then you look down at the AAA level at Buffalo, and there really is not, in my opinion, big league level starting pitching down there right now. So I think the Blue Jays, over the course of the next couple of weeks, until they can get one of those starting pitchers back to solidify that rotation, the pitching could be rough for a couple of weeks for the Jays. Now, can they hit their ways to wins? Of course they can. Still a very good offense. But, you look at last night, the Rockies get it done. And you look at the Blue Jays so far this year, yeah, they're 3-1, but they swept what I would consider what could very possibly be a bottom 5 team in baseball this year. The Sacramento A's have no pitching. They can hit. Everyone can hit, but the plate discipline has been awful. They struck out a ton in that Blue Jays series. So the Blue Jays just may have become one of the more overvalued commodities in the American League, at least in the immediate present. Coming off the sweep of the A's, How impressive is that at this point? They might be a bottom 5 team. They lose yesterday to the Rockies. Suddenly they have pitching issues. So I'll go with I guess the under the radar spin here could be things might be bad for the Blue Jays for the short term. And you are going to have ample opportunity to bet against this team pretty much any day you want, because they're going to be a big favorite against the Rockies tomorrow. They already are tonight. You can get plus 1.5 at plus 105 in this game tonight if you're a believer in the Rockies. You go to the next series where I will likely target them. They're on the road in Chicago against the White Sox Thursday, Saturday, Sunday of this upcoming week. And then they come back home to play the Dodgers. So I guess the way I want to look at this sort of game is, if you made me pick a side in the Blue Jays game tonight, I'm going Rockies plus 1.5 at plus 105. But I think the better way to look at this is going to be potentially the Rockies and how they set up tomorrow, but fading the Blue Jays in that White Sox series, probably against the plus 1.5. And then when they come home, having to play the Dodgers, I think that could be difficult for them. So the Blue Jays, based on some of that, have started to creep onto my fade list because they're still being priced as like an absolute top option in the American League. And I think losing a starter was about the worst thing that could happen to this team at this point. Okay, let's talk about a team that I think is very much under the radar in the National League, and that's the Pittsburgh Pirates. And you want to talk about another sort of like quick overreaction here. The Pirates start 1-3. Of course, they played on national TV on opening day against the Mets. And the first image in everyone's head this baseball season, well, of course, aside from the Netflix special, the first image from opening day is Paul Skeens walking off the mound before getting out of the first inning. Of course, if you watch that game, you know it wasn't entirely his fault. O'Neal Cruz misplayed 2 balls that probably led to 4 runs, and the Pirates ended up losing that game, which kind of started the season off on the wrong foot for a team that really couldn't afford to have the season start off on the wrong foot. The next day, the Pirates go out, take a 0-0 game into extra innings. They lead twice, and extras couldn't close it down. They end up losing on a walk-off home run, and then they finally get the 4-3 win to salvage 1 game in Citi Field on Sunday. Last night, they lose 2-0. And what I want to look at here is starting pitcher Bubba Chandler. But we're also going to talk about the starting pitching matchup in general for this game. So you've got 2 names that are not super recognizable. But if you follow baseball in any, like more than like the casual fan, you should know who Bubba Chandler is at this point. He is, behind Skeens, I would say he kind of emerged as the top prospect in this organization. Last year, he probably deserved to be in that rotation very early in the season. I don't know if out of spring, sorry, I have a cold. Excuse me. I don't know if out of spring, he deserved to be in the rotation right out of the gate, but certainly after the first couple of weeks and you saw what the Pirates were, there's no question that he was one of the best starting pitchers in that organization, should have been at the big league level. Why wasn't he at the big league level? Very simple. The Pirates last year knew that they didn't have a winning team. And so what they did, probably to manipulate service time a little bit, but also to maybe protect Bubba Chandler from a full year in the bigs, is they let him just sort of hang out in AAA. I felt like he got bored. I watched pretty much every one of his AAA starts last year. I felt like after the first month or two, when the writing was on the wall that the Pirates were in no rush to bring him up to the big leagues, that he was bored. And I think it started to show in his numbers. When he finally did get up, the Pirates started bringing him out of the bullpen and had him in sort of like a bulk innings role, which I actually don't think was the worst thing for him. I think it forced him to throw harder or to throw his hardest, knowing he was only probably out there for 3 or 4 innings. And that stretch from kind of having not the best month in AAA to when he was first called up from the bigs was his most impressive stretch of the entire 2025 season. He finished with 31.1 innings at the big league level, a 0.93 whip, and 31 strikeouts. So about a strikeout per inning. But he's still under the radar because I feel like the Pirates kind of buried him a little bit. They hid him down at AAA. He was probably good enough to give you a full year in the big leagues or close to it, or at least make more starts than he did, but he didn't. And now he's kind of coming in as a little bit of an unknown. So Bubba Chandler, big time under the radar guy. I think he is absolutely got the, he's a high end prospect. Like could be a 1-2 here with Skeens. You throw Jared Jones into the mix. It's one of the reasons I'm so high on this Pirates team relative to market. They have so many pitchers that can strike guys out. That really could be very dominant. And I think Chandler is probably the one next to, we know Skeens is dominant at this point, but Chandler's the one that I think is a little bit unknown that could be just like a wipeout starter. On the Red side here, they're going to go with Brandon Williamson, who's essentially coming off of 2 years of injuries. 2024 injury plagued. He did pitch a little bit, but it was almost always battling an injury, which he eventually had to shut it down, have Tommy John surgery, and miss all of last year. So you're talking about a guy that didn't pitch at all last year, Tommy John, that really didn't pitch much in 2024 because it was the injury leading into having the surgery, and now kind of starts for the Reds here. March 30th. I don't know how deep you can really expect him to go in this game. I'd be surprised if he goes more than 4 innings. That seems like a lot of starters, even ones that are healthy, having a hard time getting past the 5th inning. And then a lot of teams that have a starter that's either a younger guy or someone coming off an injury, very unwilling to push them deep in the games. We've seen that a couple times where, guys been, quick hooks for some of these managers. I think understanding, hey, it's March. We can just as easily go 4 innings and piggyback like a fresh bullpen than pushing a guy, past where we're comfortable with him going. The problem with the Reds is they don't exactly have a fresh bullpen today because they've been winning one-run games for 3 straight days now, or close games. Last night, Chase Burns was solid. The Pirates, I thought, played a good game and had a well-pitched game. Just couldn't score any runs, lose the game 2-0. So I don't know what to expect out of Williamson, but I wouldn't be surprised if, it's either a quick outing, maybe he struggles a little bit. But what I do think is Bubba Chandler is that guy. I think he's going to be a part of this rotation, like going forward. I don't think there's going to be any like feeling out process. I think that was the entirety of last year. This dude was ready to be in the rotation last May. And so now he's finally sort of starting the year in the rotation. So I'm very high on Bubba Chandler. I'm high on the Pirates. I think this price is fair. It's not something that I bet for clients yet, but I make the Pirates a slight favorite here. I made them -110. And that's pretty much where you can get them at this point, in the -105 to -110 range. Looks like -108, -107. This might make my card. And if it does, I will note that in the free pick section of my page at Wager Talk. So check there throughout the day. I'm gonna post this video there, and I will tag the Pirates play. And if I do upgrade it to a client play, I will note that there. So that'll be the 2 free picks here are going to be Pirates on the money line and Rockies +1.5. But if you want what one I am more confident in, it would definitely be the Pirates on the money line and Bubba Chandler to pitch well. I didn't give out any pitching props, but I'm high on Chandler, and I would not be surprised to see him come out of the gate and have a good outing to start this season. So that's your Under the Radar episode for today. Jump in the chat. Let me know. I took this Pirates game off of a chat comment from yesterday. So jump in the chat. Let me know what you guys want to talk about, who you want me to highlight in this section. And this is going to be a daily segment right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Don't forget, double play package is up. You can pick 2 of the total basis handicappers and get them at a discounted rate. And of course, it's $5 Tuesday all day. So check out wagertalk.com. Keep an eye out for all those $5 best bets from all handicappers. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for more Under the Radar.